You notice the clock leaning past midnight, the building quiet as a held breath. The same message lands, "Quick favor?" The same tightness climbs your ribs. Last week you poured yourself into their gap. Tonight you answer gentle and plain, "Not this time." The sentence leaves your mouth and seems to hang in the room like steam cooling on glass. The air shifts. First a blink, then a tremor of hurt, then the sharp edge of anger. You didn't raise your voice. You raised a rail. Standards don't insult people. They interrupt appetites. The world hears no as a verdict when it has grown used to your endless yes. But a standard isn't an attitude. It's a rule for you, not a weapon for them. It keeps your well from turning into a pipe, a lamp for nights like this. Schopenhauer mapping how appetite will press until it meets form, not because anyone is a villain, but because wanting is wind. Rage at the wind and you'll tire. Build a wall and it learns your shape. You can love someone's good and still decline their pace. Approval now or self-respect tomorrow morning, that's the trade the room is proposing. One buys a quiet thread and sells you sleep. The other keeps you whole when the sun climbs past the blinds, and your calendar asks what you agreed to. Here's what we'll do. We'll map 7 predictable misreads and how to step around them without heat. We'll practice a 2-minute ritual that steadies your breath and prices your yes. We'll pocket 1 sentence that cools hot rooms without apology or show. Soon enough you'll sleep. For now let the hallway stay still. Your kindness didn't shrink. It grew edges strong enough to travel. There's a line that cools heat without apology. We'll reach it later. You can think of a standard as a pre-commitment to quality, pace, and price. It's a line you draw in daylight so midnight you doesn't have to negotiate. A standard says, "This is how I work, what I'll carry, and what it costs me to do it well." It isn't a dare. It isn't a threat. It's the rule that keeps your yes honest long after charm and urgency tried to rent it. It's not a mood and it's not a test for other people. Moods swing. Standards stand. Tests are secret. Standards are posted. You don't wield them at anyone. You wear them for yourself. They are the rails that let kindness arrive on time without derailing your life. When someone asks, you check the rail. If the request fits, you move. If it doesn't, you don't, and you don't need a speech to make that true. A small story. Your team is sliding toward a weekend scramble. Again. You say, "No weekend work unless rollback exists and owners sign." It lands like a chill, then something healthy happens. People plan on Friday. Risks get written. The Monday build is cleaner than any sprint this quarter. The line didn't kill momentum. It saved the project from the quiet burnout that was about to hollow it. Here's the model. Clarity, consistency, consequence. First you write the rule. Then you keep it even when eyes watch. Finally, consequence arrives. Someone feels limited and calls it rude. That sting is not a bug. It's proof the form is real. Appetite discovers an edge and complains. Let it. You're not difficult. You're legible. Being legible is how others learn to trust your yes and respect your no without guessing your weather. Next, the engine that resents limits and keeps asking anyway. The will. He walked city streets alone, coat buttoned against weather and noise, listening for the engine under human talk. Schopenhauer watched craving tug at sleeves, swell in markets, sour friendships, bend politics. He noticed how desire doesn't argue. It insists. He wrote about the will not as heroism, but as blind appetite. Life's push to have to secure tomorrow by swallowing a little more today. The principle is simple and slightly terrifying. Fulfillment is brief. Expansion returns. The bite quiets the mouth for a moment. Then appetite wakes and asks again, louder. Feed without form and the will learns your kitchen hours. Give without edges and it schedules your weekends. It is not evil. It is unseeing. It tests for fences, because that is how it knows where the garden ends. What you stop feeding stops ruling. Not at once, but reliably. With each meal you do not serve, the habit loses a chair at the table. This is not cruelty. It is care for the cook and for everyone who eats later. Form keeps generosity renewable. A night. The text arrives with a familiar tug. You answer gently, "Not tonight." Happy to help once the plan and rollback are written. You expect a flinch and you get one. You sleep anyway. Dawn arrives with a clearer head and a shorter list. In the thread a draft appears, risks noted, owners named. You pour coffee and feel space that didn't exist yesterday. This is compassion with form. Relieve pain, keep the steering wheel. You can hand someone a blanket without giving them your map. Edges do not harden you. They make you trustworthy. People learn your pace and bring their asks to fit it. Your standards will trigger 7 predictable misreads. Let's name them and practice standing where your feet belong. Now you say, "Here's how I work," and the first misread arrives like a wince. You don't trust me. A small story, you ask for a written brief before you commit. They hear suspicion. You mean clarity. You breathe and answer softly, "I trust you." I don't trust fog. Standards reduce confusion, not affection. They keep us teammates when the clock gets loud, so neither of us has to read minds at midnight. Next comes the sideways glare. You think you're better. You posted your office hours. You price rush. They taste hierarchy where you meant hygiene. Reframe it without heat. This standard is for me. It keeps me honest and keeps the work whole. It says nothing about your worth. I'm not grading you. I'm guarding the conditions that let me deliver what I promise. Then the old lever. If you cared, you'd do it now. The room wants your heartbeat as proof. You feel the pull toward sprinting and apology. You hold the rail instead. Caring isn't measured by speed. It's measured by stewardship. Urgency isn't love. Pace protects quality. I'll give 90 focused minutes tonight to stabilize. The full pass locks tomorrow with owners listed. The temperature drops because structure replaced drama. Here's the truth you can keep in your pocket. Offense is a smoke alarm, not a verdict. It tells you a boundary touched a nerve. It doesn't mean the house is burning, or that you were wrong to install doors. Let the sound be information. Check the room, keep the frame, return to the map. We've met the loud misreads. The next 4 are subtler, dressed in gratitude and unity, and they cost more if you bend. Let's learn their shapes before the month does, and practice staying kind without going soft. We start with patience. You hear it with a half smile, part compliment, part complaint. You used to be cool about this. You said yes with a shrug and the work didn't wobble. Now the stakes are heavier, the timeline stricter, the blast radius wider. You answer without bite. I grew the standard because the costs grew. Cool is cheap, repair is not. Calm doesn't mean careless. It means measured. Next comes the ledger held like a memory. You owe us, remember last time? You do remember and you're grateful. You keep the gratitude, add governance. Thank you for covering me then. This time I'll help once the plan, owners, and rollback are written. Appreciation isn't a lien. It's a light, then the chorus, everyone else agreed, you nod. Then they have capacity, I don't. Standards aren't votes. They're physics. If my runway is shorter, my plane doesn't take off because the crowd claps. Capacity is not character. It's math. The softest push wears concern. You're making it complicated. You look at the threads, the handoffs, the shard of risk hiding under the rug. Complexity is already here. The standard names it, so we stop tripping. Simplicity that ignores risk is just delay in costume. Across these, hold this balm, your steadiness is not stubbornness. It's stewardship. You aren't resisting for sport. You're protecting the conditions that keep promises true. When you stay with the rail, work improves, tempers shorten, mornings forgive. A quiet note for the part of you that wants to explain it all until no one could possibly be upset. You don't have to. Offense will visit anyway, and speeches rent your spine to buy 10 minutes of quiet. Frames buy outcomes. Explaining won't fix this. Here's why speeches breed contempt and what to say instead when the room heats like a stovetop. Tonight, you tried to be decent. 3 paragraphs of context, tone, a tour of your calendar and conscience. You pressed send expecting release. What arrived was more pressure. Can you stretch this once? The room learned a lesson you didn't mean to teach. That your no is negotiable if story is long enough. The bill for kindness came due in interest. Here's the spiral that chews authority. Explain, expose, escalate. First you explain believing light will cool the room. Then you expose your hinges. Deadlines, doubts, places you'll bend. Finally they escalate because now they know where to push. With each sentence, your stance trades wood for cardboard. Every explanation spends a little crown. Not because clarity is weak, but because excess detail signals you need permission for what was decided. Long reasons invite rebuttals. Short rails invite action, so swap reasons for rails. Rails are brief, testable, and calm. Time, scope, price, pace. Time. I'm available for 90 minutes tonight. The rest moves to Monday. Scope. Stabilize test. Watch what happens when the rail appears. Negotiation shrinks to fit reality. The temperature drops because there is less air to heat. People plan. You do your part without donating your spine. You are not unkind for being concise. You are conserving authority for the moment it's needed most. Save stories for learning, not for leverage against your own boundary. You can keep kindness and keep edges. There's a 2-minute ritual that settles breath, names the standard and prices your yes. We'll write it on an index card and keep it by the lamp. Next, you're in the night kitchen, kettle humming like a small engine behind the wall. The house is dim and kind. On the counter, a card you made last week waits under a spoon. Across the top in your own handwriting, edges. You touch the corner as if to remind yourself you have them. First, name the value. What are you protecting tonight? Quality, health, fairness, peace. Whisper the word you'll still respect at noon. If it's quality, you refuse to ship guesswork. If it's health, you keep tomorrow's strength. If it's fairness, you share the weight. If it's peace, you stop noise from buying your sleep. One word chosen on purpose turns the room from weather into climate. Second, name the form kindness needs shape. Pick a window you can live with, a scope that matches the goal and cost-sharing that tells the truth. 1 focused hour tonight, stabilizing tests only. After that Monday, I'll own rollout. You own rollback. Write it. Rails don't shout. They guide. Third, name the proof. Choose one next step they own with a date. A checklist posted by 5. Owners assigned. A draft uploaded. Proof makes mercy measurable and keeps it from dissolving into theater. Answer as the owner, not the overflow. Owners set terms and carry their part. Overflows apologize and keep mopping. The mug warms your palms. The pen scratches a small, confident line. Shoulders drop. Breath widens. You haven't given a speech. You've built a frame your yes can live inside without eating tomorrow. Do this before replies, before meetings, before decisions that arrive wearing praise or panic. Repetition teaches your nervous system a slower drum. The card goes back under the spoon ready. Bring these edges into the conversation test. Watch heat drain. And notice respect return, quiet, useful, and yours. Again. The message drops like a pebble in a glass. If you cared, you'd say yes tonight. The clock is late. The room listens for your apology. You feel the old tug toward paragraphs, but you choose the frame instead. 1 breath, then 4 moves. You mirror 1 fact. Timeline's tight. No quarrel, no defense, just the shared constraint placed calmly on the table. You raise 1 value. Quality stays non-negotiable. Shipping guesswork costs twice. The heat lowers half a notch because value is a compass, not a verdict. Now the form. I can give 1 focused hour tonight at rush rate, limited to stabilizing tests. After that we continue at 9 within the agreed scope. Window, price, scope, rails replacing weather. Finally the proof they own. Post owners and risks in the thread within 15 minutes. When it's up, I'll start my hour. If not, we roll to morning. Watch the room tilt toward your tempo. The oxygen returns because urgency has nowhere unstructured to burn. Someone types names. Another lists risks. The hour becomes enough. Not because magic happened, but because terms did. You leave with your spine unborrowed and return to a smaller fire that respects the bucket you bring. This is the conversation test in 4 lines. Mirror a fact, lift a value, set a form, offer a proof. Rails beat reasons. You didn't preach. You practiced stewardship. You weren't cold. You were clear about the cost of warmth. Respect rises when people can see the ground. Keep the card by the kettle. Use the moves in doorways, threads, and calls. Let repetition turn calm into habit and habit into character. Rooms don't need theater. They need structure that breathes. When the clock tries to play king, you become the metronome. Here it is. Small enough for a pocket and strong enough for heat. Happy to move fast when risks are named and rollback exists by Friday. Say it level, without theater. It doesn't argue. It sets rails. It welcomes pace while protecting the work and people doing it. Picture a chaotic stand-up. Voices stack, timeline slide. Someone says, "Ship it now." We'll fix live. You place the line like a stone in a rushing stream. Happy to move fast when risks are named and rollback exists by Friday. The current splits. A tester opens a risk list. Owners appear. Scope freezes just enough to hold shape. Everyone exhales because the room has edges. Authority is the quiet that survives pressure. You didn't win by volume. You won by terms. The sentence carries your standard without stabbing anyone's pride. It turns panic into procedure and keeps goodwill intact. Carry variations that keep the skeleton. At work. I'm in once owners, risks, and review gate are written. At home, yes, when we agree time, budget, and how we'll reset after. With friends, count me in if we set a cap and a check-in. Same bones. Pace. Form, proof, Schopenhauer would nod. Limit the will and clarity returns. Appetite pushes until it meets a fence. Your line is that fence. Not scorn, not surrender, structure. Say it often enough and your nervous system learns the rhythm. Repetition turns posture into character. Character turns culture. People begin to time their asks to your cadence and thank you for the air it brings. Projects arrive cleaner. Nights come back to you. When rooms run hot, you don't harden. You steady. Keep the sentence where you keep your keys. Use it tonight if the clock tries to play king, and tomorrow before the feed spins up again. Days loosen their fists. You stop narrating your boundaries and start living them. Fewer explanations, cleaner calendars, emails that land like stones, not foam. Meetings finish with terms, not tension. Evening returns to you, steady and clear, and sleep arrives without bargaining. You wake with a whole battery and a plan that doesn't wobble when the feed shouts, then the reprise, same favor, same hour, same little tug. You feel it, nod, keep your pace. Not tonight. 1 focused hour tomorrow after owners and rollback are posted. The air wants to flare. Instead, it cools around the rails. Your kindness doesn't leak. It carries. Work improves because edges hold shape. You weren't harsh. You were unpriced. Once your yes found a number, a window, a scope. It stopped dissolving into everyone else's emergencies. Offense came, blinked, and left with nowhere to feed. Respect lingered steadier than applause. People learned your cadence and brought their asks to meet it. You did less rescue and more craft. Results got truer. Keep quiet ritual close, 2 minutes before reply, before decision, before sleep. Name the value that must survive the night. Name the form that lets help stay human. Name the proof that returns dignity to both sides. Answer as the owner, not the overflow. Let repetition train your shoulders to drop, your breathing to lengthen, your mouth to choose terms over theater. This is the peace offense buys. A room that cools, a week that holds, a self that comes home on time. Standards offend appetite, and that is their job. They invite respect, calm, and work that doesn't unravel at the first loud hour. Guard your standards. They will guard your peace. There's a sea